Welcome back to another riveting episode of the Edinboro Wrestling Show. Matt Hill's promised to bring his best work this morning. A couple of days in practice. Obviously, we'll get to the golf outing, the Hall of Fame, the reunion just around the corner. But I think probably most of the people that are tuning in are a little bit more interested in the actual on-the-mat stuff as we get, about a month or so handy to wrestle off?
Yeah, wrestle off for October 23rd, so coming right around the corner. Our guys are still in the strength and conditioning phase with lifting in the mornings, a hybrid of running and on the mat skill instruction workout. So yeah, it's going good. Seems like a really cohesive group of guys working pretty hard all around. So
now, obviously in the world that is the transfer portal, you got guys that have come, you've got guys that have gone. Kind of. If you, I know you're a culture guy. You always talk about a guy that fits the program. Can you talk about some of the new guys that you brought on this
year? Yeah, one guy that sticks out in my mind. We got Tate Gazer, transfer from Cleveland State. He's definitely an Edinboro type guy, hard worker. He puts his head down and just works. He's a worker all the way. So he's gone in to be the starter at 174 pounds. He was a 165 pounder last year. Big, strong kid. We're excited for him to hit the mat and hopefully put a really good product out there. So yeah, Tate. And then we just have another guy that transferred up from West Virginia, Bryson Arbogast. He was a 33 last year. He's going to be going 25, so he's going to create a lot of depth down there too. So he's kind of an unknown. We're not really sure how good or where he's at right now, but we're excited to see him compete. Everybody's there's a lot of competition in our room, a lot of depth, so we'll see where it takes us. I'm excited to see the product of that.
Without taking the cat totally out of the bag, how many classes would you say are solidified versus how many weight classes are 100% up in the air?
It's hard to say because I always say everybody has to earn their spot, so it's kind of like a solid way of just making a lot of good competition because you have to have competition to create a good team. So, I would say like veterans that are, pretty solid at their weights are, we probably have 3 to 4 that, that are going to be pretty, staple guys. But we have like 6 unknown weight classes maybe. So we'll see where it takes us. And then probably two of those 6 is I'm not sure at all. So we'll see how it goes.
And now obviously, you talk about the depth, the room, but it is important. You get better every day. And we've talked about this off camera a lot about how much it's hard to bring in a kid that he probably knows that he's maybe not going to get a whole lot of time, but his job is to every day to challenge the starter. Are you starting to get to that depth where you kind of feel comfortable that you can have live action at all 10 weight classes?
Well, I'm never comfortable, Joe, but I would say the key to any program, whatever level your program's at, is to create good problems at weight classes. And if you create good problems, you'll have the cream rise, and you'll have a good culture. And the most important thing for a kid that's coming in, or even a kid that's on the roster, is to say, if you're here, I don't care who's coming in. And then for the kid coming in, it's like, I don't care who's there. And that's the key. And you don't really ever want to come into a program be like, oh, I'm the guy, I'm starting no matter what, because it's actually bad for that kid because he's not going to be pushed the way he should be. So creating good problems and building that competitive, whoever's the best guy is going to wrestle mentality, and that's what we're shooting for. So
now, obviously, the big weekend is upon us, or getting close, I should say, about 10 days out, or thereabout when we recorded the show.
Yeah.
Is the golf outing filled up? Still
we're getting close. Yeah. Maybe like 1 or 2 foursomes left. Total we can take in. Sponsorships are always still available. We might not have your sign. We might have to make a sign differently, but I think we have a pretty good event coming our way. For all you last minute borough people, please get your stuff registered because we have to submit some numbers for food and stuff like that. So be sure to get up here next week. We have a lot of guys coming back, and ultimately we get to celebrate the Hall of Fame class. It's probably the largest Hall of Fame class that wrestling's ever had at one time, and it's pretty special for our program.
So the full rundown for the week. weekend is what? Friday night is the actual Hall of Fame.
Friday night, yep.
And then Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, right?
7:30 registration, breakfast, snacks, stuff like that, coffee, and then we kick the shotgun off at 8:30 in the morning.
And then the reunion is immediately following.
Proceeds the golf. It'll kind of morph in from dinner awards into reunion, and a lot of the guys are doing both.
So what's your optimistic expectation head count wise for the reunion?
Oh, I don't know. With the golf and everything else, hopefully we have about 150 people there. Hopefully that'd be the goal with randoms and townies come venturing up the hill. So,
and it's not too late to. And now, do you have to pre-register for the reunion, or does that just kind of show
up? Pre-register. If you show up, we get it. But we food wise, we want you to kind of pre-register. So,
all right, the Edinboro Wrestling Show rolls on. Ryan Burgos is next, right?
Yeah, we got Ryan Burgos. He's in his 6th year. He's an old man now, so
I was stunned. I'm still here.
He's a little bigger now. He's a little bigger now, and we're happy to have him, and we're excited for his season, and we can make some magic happen with old Burgos.
All right, more when we come back. It's the Edinboro Wrestling Show. Thanks for joining us. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Edinboro Wrestling Show. Ryan Burgos, 6 years, dude.
Yeah, long time.
You've almost been here as long as I have.
Yeah, just about.
It's not easy.
No, it's a long road.
I mean, how are you health-wise? I mean, I know you've had a litany. I mean, can you promise a full go this year?
I am promising a full go this year. I'm ready to go. Like Coach Hill just said in the previous segment, I'm a little bit bigger. I'm feeling good, really nourished, ready to go with every single on, off the mat. Just feeling great, ready to get out there.
Now, it seems odd, and we talk about this in all sports. You don't realize what you have until it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But you're getting one extra bite at the apple. And I mean, let's be honest, nobody likes to practice. Nobody likes to do that stuff. But knowing now that this is it, how different has your approach been?
Just looking throughout all my years I've been here, going into my first year, I remember coming in and like, wow, this is going to be a long 4 years I'm going to be here. Now I'm in year 6, and I'm like, wow, that was a long 5 years I've already been here. And going into year 6, I'm like, all right, let's take everything I've learned from those 5 years and really put it into one final go, one final push to really make my run at a national. So,
I mean, obviously, you know better than anyone else. I mean, you've been extremely frustrated. Talent has never been the issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been some appendage or another. You said you're bigger, you're healthier. Again, it's not talent's never held you back. I mean, what have you learned in order to take care of your body better? Yeah, I'm not that things were preventable, but obviously you want to be a little bit more cautious. Are you treating your preparation any differently because of you've had the litany of injuries in the years?
Definitely a little differently. Diet has been one of my main factors that I've been slacking on my last couple of years, but this year I'm really locking down on my diet, making sure I'm getting over to the AT room at least twice a day just to work out any kinks, any bruises that I do have from getting a good practice or a good run in each week. So those two main things are something that I definitely slacked in the past, but are really going to make an impact on me moving forward to stay in the lineup and keep wrestling throughout everything.
Now, I don't want to say does it make it easier, but there's got to be a certain camaraderie between you and McGill and Michaels being guys that have for various reasons, going into your 6th year, there's this, and there is a group of guys that are going into the Hall of Fame for something that they did together. Obviously, that would be the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for you guys. But the three of you not only are unique in 6 years, but it does feel like it's at least NCAA qualifier or bust, right?
Yes, exactly. At least NCAA qualifier or bust. It'd be a bad apple if we didn't all make it to the NCAA tournament this year.
But of course, all of you have had health issues.
Everyone's been in and out of the line through their time. But, I think this year, I know Michaels has been really on top of everything, doing everything he can. Miguel has been preparing the best he can with his shoulder, but he's looking good, feeling good. So I know all three of us are going to be looking good, really going to get after this.
Now, you weren't here all summer, were you?
No, I was a little bit back and forth. I was definitely here. Had some practices, working out with the team. Not many new guys were here over the summer, but still, like all the guys a little bit younger than me, they were all here. A lot of working out, a lot of getting after it. But yeah, I was here back and forth, back in Rochester a little bit as well.
Now, obviously, we talk about the room a lot, and you three, but you're here, so we'll tell you. You got to lead by example. Right?
Yes.
You got these new guys that have come in, and obviously you were a big deal as a recruit, but due to injury, you've not really met. You had the one trip to the NCAA's, but now how do you make sure? And what responsibility do you feel in terms of kind of leaving your mark? Because again, that mentality is what got trophies, and that's what got people. And for reasons beyond the control, the climate change, we know that. But how important is it for you, if nothing else, that you can kind of leave that bulldog mentality? Because it takes. I mean, again, I can't imagine coming back for your 6th year is fun. That's extra. That's extra wear and tear on the body. But how responsible do you feel to sort of make sure that you leave an improved culture behind?
Mainly putting all I've learned into those guys that are 2nd or 3rd year guys, so they can lead all the new guys coming in and the guys that are going to be here next year. I feel like my responsibility is to get my name up on that wall this year. One of the 3 categories that are up there, just to leave my stamp here on Edinboro Wrestling that I was here, I did it, I went through the program, and whether it took me 3 years or 6 years, that I was able to get myself up on that wall.
We'd have to look up. I wonder what the hiatus between NCAA trips would be. you might find yourself in the record book there.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask you again. You got the year because of the injury. What is your plans afterward? I mean, Camacho sort of surprised. I was surprised as anybody. What do you think will be in your future after this?
Well, I got my degree in health and phys ed, so I'm looking to be a phys ed health teacher back in New York. Coach wrestling, either a high school team, but if I really show out this year and college wants to pick me up, that'd be awesome. But right now, my goal is to go back to Rochester, teach, coach, build up a youth program, and really start back in second five where I'm from, back to where it was one day.
Now, we joke that you've been here forever, but it doesn't really seem like that long.
Mm-hmm.
What's something that, as of to today, what's something that stands out most in your time?
Just the people I've been around. You got a lot of characters that come through here. Some people that you're like, I can't believe you're a real person. You definitely get a lot of that here in Edinboro. And it's awesome because you get those hard-nosed, hard-worker guys. You get those free guys that just kind of do whatever and go with the flow. Then, like I said, you get those characters of people that you just learn from everyone, and you pick up different things of like how people act and how people react to different things. And I think that was one of the biggest things I learned while I was here, on top of obviously all the wrestling.
I mean, you've been here long enough that your mom and dad are almost townies. That speaks volumes. Yeah. But certainly best of luck. You look good, and hopefully you stay healthy. And we see you on a podium one of these days.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, more to come. I believe we're gonna have Coach Cook making his debut on the Edinboro Wrestling Show. We'll be back. Thanks to Ryan Burgos. I'm Joe Lidnowski. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to the Edinboro Wrestling Show, and of course, this is the first, not first for Coach Cook, but Coach Cook at the helm of the Edinboro Women's Wrestling Program. Now, this has been talked about, debated, and it kind of happened pretty quickly. Now, I know the process got kind of drug in the mud a little bit, but I was surprised at how quickly it went from it being a real idea to it actually becoming a real program. What was that transition like for you? And obviously you had to leave GM high school wrestling behind. But it as long as the process took, in the grand scheme of things, it sort of happened overnight.
Yeah. I mean, there was some, like you said, some rumors, some whispers about the possibility of there being a women's program here at Edinboro. It's just kind of, let's say, the kind of natural progression of things. It kind of makes sense, right? Edinboro's kind of known for wrestling, so we do really well here. And the rate at which college programs are joining the NCAAs in the women's wrestling world, it just kind of made sense. So there was some conversation a few years back, is this something that we can do here? And I was happy that was kind of friends with Coach Hill, kind of got to hear about it a little bit here and there. But then it was like, hey, we're gonna do it, and then it was out there, and we made it happen. I tell anybody that talks to me, I'm blessed. There's very few people that can go from a high school wrestling coach to a college wrestling coach and have to pack a bag and have to move anywhere. My family stays put here, and because this is a place I was going to stay regardless, right? So I'm truly blessed to have this opportunity.
So I'm asking for the viewers, but also for myself. Obviously, you don't have a full roster. What's the numbers look like? What's the schedule look like? And how close are we in women's wrestling to being in a dual meet competing situation frequently?
We'll be in a dual meet competing situation next year.
Okay.
Next season. I have full confidence in that. The interest we have in the women's wrestling program in Edinboro is immense. I'm pretty much a full-time tour guide. I have 3 to 4 recruits on campus pretty much every week. So based on the efforts we put in to build the program and drive some interest in the program here, and we kind of hang our hat a little bit on the men's program here. Like maybe the girls don't understand how successful Edinboro wrestling has been, but their dads and moms do, right? So as soon as we jumped on the map, where we had a women's wrestling program starting, instant interest. Like there was a lot across the board, to the point where when I finally got hired, they had a recruiting question out there. When I finally got hired, there was a long list of girls that were interested in Edinboro University's program, but by the time I got the ability to reach out to them, they were already scooped up. So that being said, like our roster right now, we have 3 girls on the team. Right now, we're in the same phase as the men's team is, just a lot less bodies. We're in our conditioning and getting some structure in our drills and in our practices right now. Our schedule this year will be strictly tournaments, open tournaments for the most part. We have some talent. We have a couple local girls that are on the roster, and we have a girl that transferred in from Utica. I spend a little time in the transfer portal, but starting program, it's doing it right. I didn't want to just grab bodies just so we had numbers here to start out. We got to start creating a culture of what we want with our women's wrestling program. And I think what we have now is good. Like I can really focus on the girls, and it allows me more time to continue my recruiting process, go to some of these high school tournaments and some of the national tournaments, and find more talent. But we do have an immense interest in the program. Like I'm pumped. I know the direction that our program is going. What the product we're going to end up is going to be successful. I think we can make a mark 2026, 2027 season.
Crazy thing is that I always look at it like from the 401k perspective. It's the next 30 years or like the last 30 years. Women's wrestling's like the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Like are we ready? What if the next 6 years are like the last 6 years? Like, are we ready for that? Because I feel like that's going to happen. And, is all the infrastructure in place to make sure that we're at the front of the line and not lagging behind? Because it's been a quick moving sport, period.
Right. Yeah. Here at Edinboro, they promised me, and they're delivering on most everything I need to be a successful program. Right. That's a lot of things on the college level. What we need, but we have what we need. Edinboro's kind of always had what we need. If you're willing to work hard, put the work in, put the hours in, you're going to get different. I mean, this is kind of case in point of what Edinboro can do. We don't have to have the super facilities and all that, but from the standpoint of, do I have what I need to compete? Yes, I do. But it is a rapidly growing sport.
It's crazy.
Across all aspects of it. We're just watching the women's championships, world championships, like that. The level of competition there is astounding, and the programs that are being added across the country at the collegiate level it's remarkable. Like we just keep seeing it. Like there's 24 women's wrestling teams in Pennsylvania, in the state of Pennsylvania at the college level, which is great. And Ohio has a lot, so our travel for the first couple of years doesn't have to be all over the place, but it's just exploding. The talent that we have on the high school level in Pennsylvania it kind of mirrors the boys in Pennsylvania, where it is. Like I was lucky enough, I was on the Team PA coaching staff for the Fargo teams out there. That was eye-opening. Just basically not just talent in Pennsylvania, which is huge, but also on the national level. Like it's caught up quick with the level of wrestling that the talent-wise as the boys.
So, like, how close are we to having the NCAA tournament like the men
I think we're ways away on that level. So this is the first year that the NCAA is sponsoring the women's wrestling tournament. First year it's a championship sport. And for the first year and the foreseeable future, it's Division 1, 2, and 3 all together at the same national tournament. So, I want to go D1 in the women's wrestling world doesn't mean a whole lot. There's not more advantage to go or a tougher tournament or more competition to go in the Division 1 level. We're all the same right now. I think you'll see in the next few years that Division 3 does branch off. Not allowed to offer athletic aid, and they have the numbers there at that level. They're hovering around the 80 mark for teams at the Division 3 level. So it's going to be Division 2 and Division 1. I think will be together competing for the foreseeable future until those Division 1 teams get their programs, kind of get enough programs to go off on their own, be self-sufficient.
Now, I want to, for my own curiosity, do you see a scenario where you have the arms race that the very top of the mountain sort of distance himself like you did on the men's side? Do you think there will ever be that kind of crazy commitment where, the RTCs and whatnot enable, a women's program to function like, the top 5, top 10 programs on the men's side?
Yeah, you're going to see that coming very soon, I think, just because, a lot of tuition-driven initiatives are adding sports, and then you get that everybody wants to be the best. You want to compete. Like Iowa's at that right now. Like Iowa's women's wrestling program. They're like the men's team. Right? They have the money. They have the RTC. They have the donors. They have the NIL. They have all that. So that's expanding rapidly there too.
You mentioned obviously Pennsylvania is Pennsylvania. I wonder why that holds true. Because it's so new. Is it just because it's the fabric? There's so many dads that competed that were now coaching. But again, it feels like, I'm 6 years is probably not long, but you get the point. It's literally a new phenomenon. How did Pennsylvania get to separate themselves so quickly?
I think a lot of things, the same thing with the high school in Pennsylvania. There's so many colleges in the state of Pennsylvania that have collegiate wrestling. A lot of those athletes stick around in the town that they're at, or they stay in Pennsylvania and they start clubs. They start coaching high school programs. So there's a vast number of qualified coaches in Pennsylvania that stick around. If you want to keep Ryan Burgos, not to go back to New York, you want to keep him here in Pennsylvania coaching. But you want to keep those guys in your state and doing that. So I think that's what it was. Another thing, like the infrastructure for PA USA Wrestling on the women's side is absolutely phenomenal. Like I was lucky like this. Yeah, come coach with us. What they've done, there was a plan in place it was like a 4 or 5 year plan, like to put things together. Like they wanted to be the best, and they proved it. Elisa Lackey, she's ahead of it on the women's side, and she did an amazing job planning. There was 3 or 4 other guys that were in there on the ground floor, and they're taking 20, 30 girls to Fargo, and trying to compete. They took over 150 this year, right? We're in a great area for that. Like Ohio has their program. They have some great high school teams, and they have their USA Wrestling clubs are fantastic as well. So they have a strong following. We're in a great area for recruiting. I have recruits coming in from Florida and Missouri and kind of across the country still too. But the tri-state area right here is kind of where we're going to do a lot of digging for talent.
When's your first event? Where's that?
We're planning on John Carroll. We have an open tournament on November 2nd. That's kind of that'll be our measuring stick. We'll take a couple weeks after that and regroup and see what we need to work on from there. But we're excited to get going.
Congratulations and best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Until next time, for Coach Hill, Ryan Burgos, Coach Cook, I'm Joe Lednowski. It's the Edinboro Wrestling Show. Hope to see you September 26th and 27th for the Hall of Fame, the golf outing, and the reunion. Hope to see you then.